That's okay. That just happened at perfect time. I don't know if people actually saw that at all. Um, Hello, everybody, and welcome. And I'm so delighted to have Art Giser, the creator of Energetic NLP Energetic NLP here on Chit-Chat Tuesday. Just give you a little background to Art, and I'm sure he will fill us more in with everything as we go along. But I know from hearing your interviews and attending Art's wonderful workshops that as a young child he wanted to get involved in science, and for a time Art was involved quite heavily in research. And it wasn't until later in his life that he was going on a course for intuition, an intuitive course, that he saw a placard up advertising this new thing called neurolinguistic programming, NLP. And as Art will say, he got a good feeling towards it. I'll leave it out to you what you say for the way you felt about it. But he always felt there was something missing with NLP, although it's really good in people healing. And also he was into the spiritual side of things and felt that the spiritual side of things, there was something missing with that as well. So combining the two, I think it's like the fifth element of spiritual work and NLP. So it's absolutely fantastic. And what I love about Art's work is that it's light, it's playful. And the more light and playful you are with it, more like a child you are with the energies, the greater the healing and the work will be. So thank you, Art. Is there anything else you want to add that I've not said in that introduction?
Oh, no, that was a great start. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Lovely. I think I'll just say hello to a couple of people who are beginning to join. So Lorna and Charles, hello to you. I like to start really at the beginning, Art, and what I do like about the workshops, and you've also say it on the online, is that everybody, hello Alison, you do a pledge at the very beginning. We all make sure we put up our hands and say the pledge. So can you say the importance of this pledge, please?
Well, the importance of the pledge, and I don't mean this as a criticism of other people, but there's so many people out there doing really great work. The one thing though that bothers me is often they sound like they're Moses coming down from the mountain with the tablets, telling you this is the word of God, this is the truth. And I don't think any of us, when it comes to spirituality and energy work, are seeing the ultimate truth of anything. We're seeing very interesting ideas and concepts and that are really useful. And I think as soon as you think they're the absolute truth, you create a box for your spirituality that contains you. Instead, what I prefer is I'll tell people I'm not. I'm telling you what I think at this moment. It's not the truth. And I've been doing this work for 39 years, and I know that what I say is of value, but it's a much more value if people don't take it as an ultimate truth. Because in energetic NLP, we always want people to connect more and more with their own spiritual information and their own inner wisdom. So I see everything that I do as a way to, when people explore it, it opens them up to something better than what I'm telling them.
Perfect. That's absolutely brilliant. Leah just said hello, Paul, and guess. So I usually have it, and I've not clicked the button at the moment. But we're with Art Giser, the creator of Energetic NLP. There's a little scroll thing going at the bottom. Yeah. So which is already good. I want to say hello to Leah. I want to say hello to Sam, my good friend Buzz. I hope you're doing good and healing nicely. Alison, I think I've said hello to yourself as well. So what I like to know, Art, is at the beginning you were just sort of doing NLP, and you've been training NLP since 1985, and you said you were a little bit hesitant about adding the spiritual work in. Can you tell us when you first actually started to teach and put the spiritual work into the NLP, please?
Well, I started learning NLP actually in 1983. I became a trainer in 85. And as you mentioned, when I was growing up, I was always interested in science, but I was also interested in the powers of the unconscious mind and mystical things and ESP. And I was like hypnotizing my friends when I was a kid. And so when I was first learning NLP, I don't know why. I kind of thought it was cheating sometimes. Well, I should back up. I had studied a little bit of energy work and spirituality before I started studying NLP, but where I was studying NLP was in Northern California, right near San Francisco. So there were a lot of people that were into energy work and spirituality in the program. And they started teaching me things and introducing me to teachers. So it was sort of happening at the same time, but I felt like when I was doing NLP, like I should just be doing NLP. I shouldn't cheat by reading somebody's energy or working with their energy. And then I would mention it to people and they'd go, Art, who made up this rule? It's like, use everything that you have. So pretty early on, I would experiment with it. I wouldn't necessarily tell people that's what I was doing, but I started mixing it up. And, back in the 80s, people were a lot more uptight about energy work and spirituality. I mean, at that point, when I would be working in corporations, you even had to be careful about talking about emotions because people thought you were getting too woo-woo. I mean, just talking about emotions. So for a long time, I would kind of use it, but I would keep it kind of secret, but I was using it. And then more and more I thought, well, I should use everything I can to help people. And then I just started being very overt about it.
Brilliant. So I know one of the first things that we do when we go into one of your workshops is clear the energies. I just want to say hello to Peter, Lana, Leah, Peter, Debs as well, hello to you. So the importance of clearing an energy and how that's done when you start anything, and I know you encourage it in, if people want to, in corporate fields as well, but anywhere you go, the importance of clearing the energies in the room.
Yeah, it's hugely important. And if I can say one thing first, I never just give a talk. So the energy is going to start flowing, and you don't need to necessarily believe that's true. Just be open to it. But what is important is don't listen to this if you're driving or doing anything like that. Because when the energies start flowing, a lot of them are very high frequencies, and they're designed to put people in a slightly altered state. Because in that slightly altered state, it's very easy to let go of unconscious and energetic blocks. Not how you want to be when you're driving. And even on a recording, when people are watching or listening to it, if they imagine it's happening while they're watching, while they're listening to it, they'll access the energy. So I just always like to let people know, if you're driving, turn this off, watch the recording some other time. So to answer your question, the way I like to explain it to people is if you look at your hands right now and imagine what would your hands look like if you'd never washed them? They'd be covered with gunk and grime and all this stuff, and you wouldn't be able to move your fingers very well. But the worst part would be you would think that was you. You would think all that stuff was just part of you. And then if you fell in a stream or a lake and it got washed off, you'd go, wait a minute, they move. And what is this stuff? It's different, but I think this is me. And it's the same way with your energy field. Like everything else about you, it gets dirty. Everyone's been absorbing energy since they were in their mother's womb. Your parents didn't know it consciously, but they were programmed to program the children energetically, which is a good thing because we all are born into different families and societies, and we need to know the rules or we're going to get in trouble. We may die or bad things are going to happen. So our parents are energetically programming us even when we're in the womb. And even if you never met your father or mother, they were still programming you. And the programming isn't just coming from them. It's coming from their parents and their parents' parents and their parents' parents' parents. So we're getting all this ancestral programming. And the point isn't whether it's good or bad. It's not authentic to you. And it's definitely not of the 21st century. And the kind of people that are going to be watching your show, Paul, are people that want to be authentic and they want to develop. And we can't do it with all that programming. And when you absorb energies, you're also absorbing information and emotions and programming. And if that sounds odd to anybody, the only way that human beings ever can communicate is through energy. You're all watching, listening to us now through energy. But even if we were in the same room, our mouths and our tongues are sending energy through the molecules in the air, that hit the eardrum and get turned into neurochemical energy, get reinterpreted by the brain. So energy is the only way we transmit information and programming. So when you're absorbing other people's energies, you're getting their emotions and their programming. And even when you're in your parents' womb, you didn't consciously know this, but on the inner level, we try to heal our parents. And we do that for two reasons. One's out of love. The other is if the giants aren't healthy, we're in trouble. So I don't have to tell women that, when you're pregnant, you go through all kinds of emotions, and the fathers go through emotions, and other people around are going through emotions. And there's a tendency for the fetus to be absorbing them. And I'll have clients who are in their 50s and going, I'm an anxious person. I think it's genetic. And I've always been an anxious person. And, I can meditate and I can calm it down. And I've done some NLP and I do different things, but there's always this anxiety in me. In any emotional state that you have way too often or you don't handle well, particularly if you've worked on it, there's about a 99.99% chance it's not your emotional energy. A little bit of it may be, but the reason you're having trouble handling it and the reason it fires off inappropriately is because it's not your energy. And so you can't heal it. You can clear it. So now we're answering your question. You can't. Mm-hmm. And the thing, and it's not just from the womb. Your whole life, you're absorbing energies from other people. And, from friends, from families, from teachers, from religious leaders, in every group has energy forms that are part of the makeup of that group. And those energy forms are programming us. And again, that may sound like people are programming, but it's not like that. It's what human beings do. And we need to do it to have societies. And as I said, for the people that would be, interested in your work, Paul, and in my work, they're people that we need to clear that programming in order to go on our spiritual paths.
Exactly. And thank you. That was really nicely explained. I've got Deb, and this is so crucial to one of the elements of energetic NLP. Is Deb says, I always take on others' energies. So for someone like Deb that's always taken on others' energies, what would a quick thing that somebody could do to allow them to clear those energies from them if you're that sort of person?
Well, and let me just start by saying, I've done these before. I'm going to be doing a 5-day free program that I call it empaths, going from surviving to thriving to being a playful empath. And later, if you get on my mailing list, you'll hear about it. It'll be happening in a few weeks, and it's free. But a couple things you can do right now. So let me start by saying there's a lot of stuff online about energy vampires and this and that. And I understand why people see it that way. And that isn't the way I was taught. And it isn't the way I see it. And if you think of it, if you think of somebody as being an energy vampire and they're taking your energy or forcing their energy on you, and I'm not saying Deb's thinking that, and I'll be getting more specific. But the problem is you're giving all the power to them. And the thing is, nobody can take your energy unless something in you is letting them. Nobody can stick their energy in your space and keep it there unless something in you is holding on to it. Now, that something can be karma, it can be spiritual contracts, unconscious beliefs, programming. So there's a lot of, one of my friends used to call it Velcro. There's a lot of Velcro for things to stick to. And why that's important is we're all the sovereign of our own energy fields. And whether you know how to work with that right now, it's really important to start realizing that. And it gets you out of victimhood. And again, I'm not addressing this to you, Debs, but it gets people out of this whole victimhood or being powerless. And you start realizing, okay, there's things I can do. And it can even be a gift because you learn how to use the fact that other people's energy is stuck in your space as a way to find, well, what did it stick to? And you don't have to do that consciously. You can put your spirit and inner wisdom in charge. And later I'll go down that path. But for right now, couple of simple things. In the United States, we call them lightning rods. I forget what you call them in the UK. They're metal that can be put on buildings, and the lightning hits the metal and a wire goes along the building into the ground.
Yeah.
I forgot, what do you call them there?
Well, I might be, do say in chat, particularly my mum is watching, she's typing with the left hand, so it might be difficult. But I believe it's lightning rods or conductors or something like that. But I know exactly what you mean. I've always referred to them as lightning rods, actually.
Oh, okay.
But do correct me if I'm wrong, people.
I think it might be lightning connectors. As much as I taught in the UK, I should remember, but I'm forgetting right now.
Well, I should, and I'm somebody from the UK.
And there are parts of the US that have a lot of lightning. Where I live in California, not so much. And it was actually Benjamin Franklin, historical fact, who invented the lightning rod amongst his other accomplishments. But the point of a lightning rod is you're not resisting the lightning. Resisting lightning is not a good idea. You're redirecting it. You're redirecting it so it doesn't enter your building and it just goes into the earth, and the earth just handles it. Well, you can do the same thing with energy. It's sort of like energy aikido. You're not like boxing it. So if somebody's energy is coming towards me, or if I'm pulling it in because I'm programmed that I have to take care of everybody, so I'm just taking in all their energies. If I try to fight that energy, I'll know the saying, what you resist persists. So you can actually make it worse when you try to fight it. It might work, but sometimes it gets stronger. And it's just not the best way to deal with it. Again, if you start judging it or anything, that also gets in the way. So the easy thing to do is just redirect the energy. And a very simple way to do that is imagine a symbol of some kind. And it could look like a little lightning rod. In energetic NLP, we use symbols a lot. And personally, I just always imagine little balls of energy. And each one represents whatever I want it to represent. But for those of you listening, just pick some kind of symbol that you like. It doesn't matter what it is. And put it out in front of you. And imagine it's grounded into the earth, that there's a tube of energy going from it into the earth. And then ask your spirit and your inner wisdom to use it like a lightning connector, a lightning rod, so that if energies are coming towards you that you don't want, they hit the symbol and they go into the earth. So you're not resisting them, you're just redirecting it. And you're not sending it back to the person either. It's just going into the earth, and the earth will figure out what to do with it. And I usually recommend doing 4 of these: in front, behind, left, right. You can even have them above and below. And you just ask your spirit and your inner wisdom and set your intention that any energies that are coming towards you that your spirit and wisdom don't want, hit them and go into the earth. For extra credit, do the opposite. Go, if I'm releasing energies that I don't want other people to have to deal with, because we don't want to, when we're in unpleasant states, we don't want to be dumping that on other people either. You can set your intention that when you're releasing energies, if they're not helpful for other people, they hit the symbols and go into the earth. So it's working both ways. And that's a really effective and easy way to do it. Now, a couple of keys to doing it. Well, in everything with energetic NLP, there's 4 things. One is you set your intention. You're all familiar with that. The second is you give permission, which is a lot more complicated subject than people think it is. And maybe later we'll get into it. But you need to at least give conscious permission. And you might think that when you set intention, permission would automatically go with it. It doesn't. So you set your intention, you give 100% permission for it to happen. The third is you put your spirit and inner wisdom in charge. So you let go of conscious control, but you're giving up control to your own spirit and your own deep inner human wisdom. And the fourth thing that's the secret sauce is what in NLP we call as if. It's what most people call imagination, pretending. And then you just pretend that it's working. And if you try to do it right, and if you try to decide if it's working, you get in the way. For anybody who sings or dances or does artwork or anything creative, you know that if you start overanalyzing it while you're doing it, Like you can tell people when they're dancing who are thinking about it a lot. It doesn't look elegant. But when you kind of let loose and let your body do what it knows how to do, then you start flowing. And it's the same with art. It's the same with singing. It's what people call flow states. So in this work, you just turn it over to your spirit and your inner wisdom to be in charge. And then by using your imagination, you open the doorway, you open a portal. And that allows your spirit and your unconscious mind to do amazing things. So it's always intention, permission, putting your spirit and wisdom in charge, and then just imagine it's working. And so for the rest of this conversation, when I'm taking people through things, I really invite you all, while it's happening, just pretend it's working. You don't even have to believe it's working. That's the fun thing. It's like when you were 5 or when you were a child and you play games, so in the US, I'm a cowboy or whatever. I knew I wasn't really a cowboy, but that was irrelevant. I'm pretending I'm a cowboy. So in the same way, you're just pretending, and later you can analyze it all you want. But for the rest of the session, just imagine things are working and see what happens. And there is no doing it right, by the way.
When I was in school here in the UK, it was cowboys, cops and robbers, all that sort of thing. I must say hello to Wendy, who's joined us. Got some good feedback from what you were saying, which is brilliant. And my friend here, Cowabunga, participated in the Help Change the World from living room yesterday. A wonderful free meditation and healing led by art, connecting an international community. Highly recommended. I so wanted to do that, and my friend did let me know about this. I was actually out with my mum yesterday, helping out with her wrist, and it sounded really good what you were doing. So do you want to just explain to people some of the processes that you went through that? Oh, and also the other thing I want to ask you is, you always say about your miraculous self. That's very important in energetic NLP. So if you can tie that into this question as well, please.
Well, perfect questions, and we're glad you're a good son and you took care of your mom.
Thank you.
A role model to us all. And I do that. These energy sessions change the world from your living room periodically. With everything going on in the world, I'm going to be doing them more often again. I sort of stopped them for a while. So let me explain what the miraculous self is, because that is really critical. And then I'll explain change the world. Your miraculous self is a concept that we made up in energetic NLP. And your miraculous self is different than your high self. Your high self just exists. And the truth is, we use words like a high self, and we all mean something different. But whatever it is, it just exists. Your miraculous self only kind of sort of exists till you start working with it. Always think of it like a muscle in your body that you never used. So it's there, but it really can't do anything. But when you start using it, then you get the strength and the agility. So what your miraculous self is, well, I'll back up a step. People use the word spirit when they're talking about your individual spirit to mean different things. Like people talk about your individual soul, your individual spirit, but people use those terms in opposite ways. So let me explain what I mean. When I talk about somebody's spirit, I mean the higher frequencies of your non-physical self. The higher frequencies of your non-physical self. Higher not as in superior, but higher as in literally higher vibrations. And the higher you go into your own frequencies, into the realm of your spirit spirit loves you, it cares about you. And in many ways, it's like the perfect parent going, whatever you want, dear. Because your spirit sees all kinds of life choices as legitimate life paths. So to your spirit, let's say you're struggling financially. Your spirit will go, well, that's a legitimate spiritual path. And let's say you're really abundant. And it will go, well, that's another legitimate path. Again, not because it doesn't care, but like the perfect parent going, hey, I'll support you whatever you want. I mean, there are limits, but within those limits, it will support you. And your spirit just sees value in all these different things. Now, you also have a deep inner human wisdom, and it's very practical. So your miraculous self is when your spirit, with this vast awareness, is closely aligned with your deep inner human wisdom, so that it's also getting a part of you going, I know that being unloved and not being abundant is a valid spiritual path, but can I be loved? Can I be abundant? And so then you get guided and supported by your miraculous self in ways that develop you personally, develop you spiritually, and improve your life. And when I say that, I want to be clear. There's some spiritual systems now, like, oh, if you just think correctly and have happy thoughts, nothing bad will ever happen. Well, good luck with that. And that's really a human life. And so we're not in resistance to challenges in life, because that's part of life. But when you're guided by your miraculous self, you avoid a lot of what the Dalai Lama calls unnatural suffering. So natural suffering is like, we're in bodies, things happen, we get older, things happen to other people. It's part of life. Unnatural suffering is all the ways that we create suffering in our own lives that didn't have to be there. And so in energetic NLP, we're trying to cut down on the unnatural suffering. And when you're having the natural challenges in life, that you feel guided and supported by your miraculous self. And I can tell you from my students and from my own personal experience, no matter how bad things are at a particular moment, when you tap into feeling you have a foundation of guidance and support and nurturing and even spiritual joy, because spiritual joy is different than being happy with how your life is. It makes everything different. You have all that security. So in a few minutes, I'll explain what Change the World is, but then if you want, in a few minutes, we can go through a process where everybody can start building their miraculous self.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
So we can do that in just a minute. But to answer your first question, so Change the World from your living room. I first started doing them actually when Obama was first running for president. And I was thinking about, well, how do I energetically help the world in a way without imposing on it? So as wonderful as peace meditations are, they also have a kind of a arrogance to them sometimes. Like, I know what these people should be doing, and it's like, it's not for me to say what should be happening in the world. And I was thinking, well, then how do we help things? So when Change the World from your living room, everybody starts connecting to their own miraculous self who's in the meditation. And then we work with energies throughout the world and work with people throughout the world who on an inner level want to connect to their miraculous selves. They don't consciously know what we're doing unless they're really psychic. But on an inner level, people want this kind of help. So we do a meditation to help them connect to the guidance of their miraculous selves. And it's an exercise in trust that if they're being guided by their spirit and their inner wisdom, they will take actions and make decisions that are better for them, better for their countries, and better for the world. So again, we're not telling them what they should do. We're trusting that their spirit will tell them what they should do. And then in the end of the sessions, well, the whole time people participating are getting clearing and healing energies. But then at the end, we focus on a mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical healing. And the reason I run those together is, the old, people talk about the new age. The old age way to think was, oh, it's not really noble unless you're not benefiting at all. Like somehow that pleases the universe or God, again, whatever your beliefs are, that you're not benefiting at all. And I'm not sure who made up that rule. When somebody helps me, if it benefits them too, that makes me really happy. I mean, now I want people to help me even when it doesn't benefit them, but I'm happy when it does. So to encourage this idea, not that we have to benefit when we help people, but that it's perfectly fine. That's why we do the healing at the end. And, you take somebody even like Mother Teresa, and she would talk about, she felt incredible joy when she would feed the poor. And she'd tell people it's like she was feeding Jesus. So, I mean, this gave her joy. Well, I think that's a good thing, you know. So in Change the World, everybody gets a personal healing, and we send healing out to the world, again, without forcing it on anybody. And later, if you're on my mailing list, you'll hear about them in the future. Or if you're on my Facebook page, you'll hear about them. And I will be doing them at least once a month, but probably more often.
Brilliant. I just wanted to pull that up because Sam says, wow, this gentleman is incredible.
Now I feel good. We can end the interview now.
Yeah. So are you all right to go through the process of creating your miraculous, I can't speak tonight, creating your miraculous,
Miraculous.
yeah, miraculous. When you get those words, just sometimes you know it and you just can't get it out of your lips for some reason. I don't know what's going on. Are you happy to do that with us, Art?
Oh yeah, I love taking people through processes, and also have a little tip for you. At times in the programs, we get tired of going "your miraculous self" over and over again, so we started just calling it "your M" for your miraculous self.
Yeah.
And a little bit that we came up with that. It was a group in the UK, and it's kind of a James Bond pun too, because his boss, is M.
Yeah.
But I don't really think of my M as Judith Dench, but
No. Yeah, I love James Bond anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. So if I say your M, I mean your miraculous self. I mean your spirit and your inner wisdom working together to guide you, nurture you, heal you, and help you manifest. And creating your M is really, really simple. And the trick to energy work, in my opinion, is to realize how incredibly simple it is. Like anything, yeah, you can get better and better at it, but it really is simple. And we just have all this programming and stuff that only a few special people can do these things. And you have to, I remember telling one of my teachers back in the early 90s, I thought I would have to go sit and meditate in a cave for 20 years to do what I can already do. And he goes, yeah, he goes, maybe you used to have to, but you don't anymore. So, because the whole consciousness is changing. All right. So again, we're always doing intention, permission, putting your miraculous self in charge, and then imagination, pretending. So right now, invite any of you that want to, and why wouldn't you, but any of you that want to set your intention right now that your spirit and your deep inner human wisdom, whatever those are, you don't have to figure out what that is. Your spirit knows what it is. Your deep inner human wisdom knows what it is. Set your intention that right now they're aligning, they're coming together to create your miraculous self. Just set that as an intention. Then give 100% permission for that to happen right now. And just imagine, pretend it's happening right now. And imagine you don't have to feel, if you feel things, fine. If you don't, it's fine. Just pretend it's happening. And for some of you, some resistance may be coming up. And if that is, that's fine. There's a lot of programming telling us not to get in touch with our own information and wisdom. And I'll explain why later. And that's not bad or wrong, but just be clear in your mind, like, no, I want this. And that's the way I said it, not with big force, but like, no, I'm doing this. That's it. There we go. And then just imagine your miraculous self is formed. Your M is formed. And that as we work with it, it's going to get stronger and more effective. And it already exists. Because the truth is, it all kind of sort of already existed anyways. You're just opening up to it. And then I encourage you to set your intention and give your miraculous self 100% permission to be in charge of how you benefit from the rest of this session we're doing together. which means it will figure out any old programming or beliefs or other kinds of unconscious or energetic blocks. It will figure out what it wants to release. And what's great in energetic NLP is your miraculous self, when they, I apologize. Let me see if I can fix whatever that is. Sorry, I had my phone on do not disturb, but apparently that doesn't work for the phone. But if it rings again, just pretend it's a delightful little sound. Geez, what was I saying? You went to the miraculous self. Oh, your miraculous self is capable of figuring out what to shift and what to replace it with. So I only know 2 quotes from Aristotle, and one is nature abhors a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. What that means is that when you create a space, something will fill it. Well, we want your miraculous self to be in charge of what fills it. So as you start dissolving old limiting beliefs and programming, set your intention and give permission for your miraculous self to replace it with wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills, and abilities from your miraculous self, from your spirit and inner wisdom. And just give 100% permission for that to happen. Okay, and just take a couple easy deep breaths. Now we'll do more with that in just a moment, but any questions from anybody about this process of creating your M?
So yeah, please do see what it says there. Kind of, I easily go into like an altered state when you're doing these things. So I'm just kind of bringing myself back
Right.
up here. This all makes perfect sense. Just the same, I haven't practiced these for a while. Do get your questions coming in, everybody that's watching everybody at the moment. I'd say from my perspective, what I felt with that, it was kind of like a feeling when you put your feet in the water and you're right by on a beach and you're by the sand and you've got like the water pulling out and it's kind of like going under your feet. You can feel like movement. Kind of felt like that going through my system, if that makes any sense. And I kind of, you always say that it's fun to be kind of light and playful. So when your phone went on, it kind of made me sort of smile, and I think, you know, it reminded me to be light and playful about it rather than be too serious with it as well. So yeah,
Well,
so
that's great, and yeah, and that is just so perfect. Like whatever happens, I was teaching once in London and at the College of Psychic Studies in London, which is a wonderful place. And across the street was some kind of French consulate or something. And there was this, and I was teaching a whole day program. And across the street, there's an angry group of demonstrators who were out there yelling different things in French for hours, and I mean all day. And let me just see if I can silence that. Oop, give me one moment.
They do want to speak to you.
Yeah. Let's talk to my secretary. No, not that
yeah. That's right. We're just listening.
But you know, it's all an attitude. And I just told everybody, you know, well, one of the great things about living in a country like the UK is that you can do political demonstrations. So we can let that noise bother us, or we can go, thank God we're not in a country where you get shot for doing that or put in jail. And let's just appreciate they care about something, even if we don't know what it is. And the people who run and everybody got into it. We just sort of like, you know, just like let it be okay. So it's like you're saying, you know, you can always choose when there's disruptions. You know, you can let it upset you and go like, okay, fine.
I don't know what's happened to your picture art. Let me
Oh,
know other people as well, but you're kind of frozen at the moment, so it's like a
yeah.
still. So I don't know if you accidentally took a screenshot of yourself or something
Oh, I think
during
I
that.
did. I think I did. Hold on. Sheesh.
So we
No,
got a question here from Moira. What's
thanks for
what's a
letting me know.
time? What's a time reference? So I kind of went quite deep into that. So I do find when I go into these type states that kind of my unconscious takes over a bit more, and I kind of miss out little bits and pieces. I remember some things as well from it, but the other question from Moira was what's a time reference?
Um, I don't know either. I think, Maura, can you say a bit more? Because I don't know. I don't recall making a time reference. Doesn't
Okay.
mean I didn't, but I don't.
Okay. Let's see what Deb says. Yeah, I didn't remember hearing that, so maybe because that's my mum whose wrist is healing at the moment. So maybe she was having a conversation with somebody else that I missed
Well,
there.
and let me just say, the energy. I use a whole like symphony of energy. And well, I should back up. Remote energy work is easy. It's one of my specialties. It's one of the things I teach people. Everybody can do it. I work with like a whole symphony of energies, and some of them are very high frequency, and they put people in this altered state, which makes it easy for your miraculous self to dissolve old programming and karma and all kinds of things. So uh, in my programs, it's normal for people to go, "Yeah, that was great. I don't remember a thing you said."
Yeah. No, that's good. And no, I mean, I could definitely get the feelings going through. Deb said when joining the energies together, it was a gentle whirlwind with beautiful, gentle color lights wielding around me. That sounds really nice, Debs.
Beautiful. And by the way, when people share experiences like that, it's really really helpful. And when I was younger, if somebody shared an experience that uh, was really great, sometimes I'd go, well, why didn't I have an experience like that? And finally, it occurred to me that to do the opposite, to like bless it, and I would tell my miraculous self, well, I'd like my own version of that, if that's appropriate. So when you share those positive experiences, you're opening up possibilities. I mean, I learn a lot from people. My programs will talk about what they visualized or something, and I'll go, okay, miraculous self, let's work on you. I like that.
Yeah, brilliant. So what are the general things people get? Because I have heard a couple of people who say it's okay, but some people like get little minor aches and pains sometimes when going through processes. And if you can explain why that, not very often, but it does happen occasionally.
Yeah, no, I like people to be aware. So a few different things can happen. So one is you don't feel the energy at all, which is totally fine. Some of the best healings I've ever received, I didn't feel the energy that much until later. I felt the effects. Um, so if you feel it, great. If you don't feel it, great. They, but when blocks are being cleared, sometimes they just dissolve, and sometimes they're uncomfortable on the way out. It's kind of like if you've ever have a sore muscle, if you lightly stretch, it's what you need to do, but it can hurt a little bit, and you don't push it too hard, but that hurting is part of it opening up. So when we're working, people may temporarily feel aches, pains. If that happens and it doesn't get better, let us know, and I'll tune in on your energy. The other thing is that, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're absorbing energies all the time, and a lot of it's emotional energy from other people, from past lives, or from earlier in our own life. And during these, I call them energy spas, during these energy spas, when emotional energy releases, sometimes it releases and you don't notice it, but sometimes you feel it on the way out. And so if emotions come up that are like, you may all of a sudden go, oh, I have to call my mom. I have to do my laundry. I have to do that email. That's old stuff being released. And often uh, well, let me back. So different things can come up. So the way to respond to that, if stuff is coming up or emotions that you're not enjoying, just go, oh, good, I'm releasing that. And don't fight it, don't feed it, don't analyze it, just let it go. Your miraculous self is releasing it. The other thing is, I'll explain this by a little story. Years ago, I always had virus checkers on my computer, and I was doing this corporate training for a really big company, and I'd flown in for it. And my computer got this virus, and not only did it wipe out my computer, I mean, at first it turned off my virus checker, which I thought clever, and then it wiped out my computer. The point of that being, the programming that we have, some of it has like a built into it protection. So some of the programming that your miraculous self doesn't want, as it's being released, it will try to create resistance. Like you might get suddenly like agitated or suddenly impatient or suddenly, if any of that comes up, just be mindful of it and go, oh, good, I'm up to something big. And that's fine. The other things is sometimes people twitch. In India, they call those kriyas, and that's another way to release energy. Sometimes people's eyes water, they yawn. So it's fine if you don't feel any of that. I'm just bringing up, if you feel any of that, it's just different ways we release energy.
One of the things on, I can't remember exactly what we were doing during your workshop, but there were once or twice times where I felt a little dizzy, not in an unpleasant way, but it was noticeable. Is that a common one? Sorry.
Yeah. And before we finish, I'll make sure everybody's grounded. But again, because some of the energies I use, excuse me, are very high frequency, it is easy to get a little kind of high or lightheaded or, yeah. In fact, I've done it. I was doing a program. Pardon?
Oh. No, I just said carry on because.
Yeah. I was doing a program recently for people in the Ukraine, and they had a really good translator. And I was afraid this would happen, but as we went along, it was getting harder and harder for her to translate because she was getting spaced out by the energy. So luckily, Aliki Hellman, who's somebody who studied with me for years and originally came from Russia, she started translating. But this poor translator, and I went, I understand what's going on. Because she was doing so much processing, it was hard to do the translating.
Brilliant, yeah, but it's great that it was working for her. She was there to do the work as a translator, and she was releasing energy as well. Oh, yeah. Diana, there's a couple of other people who's dropped in, which I don't think I've said hello to, which I do apologise that I missed you there. But Diana says that all makes sense. It's perfect. Shame that I haven't practiced for a while. Now, what I wanted to come in is I know that I think it was with yoga Kundalini, so it changed your life and it was really good, but it was something you didn't practice. Obviously, this is something that you put into your daily practice, as I have since the workshop things. But what is it about the humans, do you think, that we kind of have these things that change your life, and then all of a sudden, when everything's better, you don't do it anymore, and it just goes back?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's we're hitting up some kind of resistance, but other times the motivation, if the motivation was to get out of a problem, when we're out of the problem, the motivation isn't always there anymore. So it takes, you have to like change your mindset to make like improvement or taking care of yourself, that the motivation. So there's a lot of people, if they have a headache, they'll take care of themselves, but we don't necessarily do things in the future to prevent having a headache. And I think it's probably just due to the fact that, thousands and thousands of years ago, people didn't live that long, and mainly they were trying to survive, and it was a lot about solving problems and not long-term thinking kind of thing.
Sure. Kawabanga, after the meditation, I had to sleep for a long time after, which is great because I have chronic pain. Mm-hmm. So energy work and pain, if you can say a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do both with NLP and energetic NLP around pain. When I was a medical researcher, I would go listen to talks and stuff at times. And I remember this pretty prominent neurologist speaking. And he went, the bane of pain is mainly in the brain. Take off on My Fair Lady. The bane of pain is mainly in the brain.
I love it.
So, and I'm not trying to make that sound easy, but there are things you can do energetically and psychologically and to really help with pain. And what I'm trying to think of a short answer to be helpful now. Well, one thing, and I'm not doing this because it's a plug, but I have another free program. It's called blockbuster7.com. Like one word, blockbuster is one word, the number 7.com. And you get 4 videos that take you through energetic NLP processes. And I think I know those will help you with the pain. And there's certainly a lot more you could do, but those would be helpful. And feel free to message me later, and I'd be happy to make some more suggestions, because it's a whole big topic. And again, there's a lot from both NLP and energetic NLP and hypnosis that can really help with that. But yeah, I could say some more, but I wouldn't do it justice. So I think I'll leave it there.
Well, it's great you've got that free resource that anybody that's going through pain at the moment can listen to and get the benefits from it.
Well, and let me just be clear, you don't need to be in pain. I mean,
no, exactly. Yes.
In fact, if she tries that for pain, let me know how that helps. And I know it will help for sure.
Perfect. And you've got a thank you there. Wendy, I know that I have forgotten something that I need to remember. Is there something I can do to remember? So NLP, certain things I do in NLP are great for memory, but energetically NLP or the energy work or any little tidbits for remembering?
Yes. In a bit, if you want, I can take people through a process for clearing blocks.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
And so one thing you can do is clear if there's something blocking you from remembering it. I mean, memory is an interesting topic. One thing I'll mention that people often aren't thinking of is it isn't just, we always think of memory as just the retrieval part, but it's also how you input it. And this comes from NLP, but other things too. I remember hearing somebody on the radio talking about as people get older, them forgetting things. And sometimes it is memory problems, but a lot of times it's just getting sloppy and not really paying attention. So the reason they don't know where the keys are is they weren't thinking when they put their keys, they didn't think about where they put them. So one part for everybody about memory is if it's something you really want to remember, to really take a moment and imprint it. Then it makes the retrieval easier. And then like you say, there are things from NLP, but what I'll offer from energetic NLP, again, is the idea of clearing if there's something blocking you from remembering it.
Perfect. So will you be happy about taking us through the process for clearing blocks? That'd be really good. I get myself nice and comfy anyway, but even more comfier.
And this is also, if people are worried about remembering how to do it, it is, besides that you can watch this again, it is in the Blockbuster 7 program. So relax about having to remember it. You can either watch this again or watch that.
Amazing. Thank you, Art.
So as I mentioned before, we use symbols a lot in energetic NLP, because when you use symbols and metaphors, what it does is it allows your unconscious mind and your miraculous self to do something. How your miraculous self will do it will be different. But sometimes our mind and our miraculous self just needs something that's symbolic of it, and then it will figure out how to do it. So let me just check. There's a few different ways we could do it. So let me just see what it feels. Yeah, okay. Hang on. There's a slightly different way to do it in the Blockbuster 7, but let me give a really simple but really powerful way to do it. So in the collective human consciousness is the idea of fire as transformative, fire that burns up the old and allows for the new. And I'm sure everybody's heard of the phoenix bird, that at a certain point in its life cycle, it burns up, then it's reborn. And I don't know if every spiritual system and religion uses candles or flames or fires, but a lot of them do. And it's because it's just wired into us the idea that when we burn something, it's released and then something new can be created. So you can think of in terms of the idea of a sacred fire. And the sacred fire is only going to burn things that should be burned. And it, again, creates space for something new. And I'll mention again that when we do this process, or any of these processes that release blocks, we always do it with the intention and giving permission for your miraculous self to replace whatever is dissolved, whatever's burned up, to replace it with wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills, abilities, and attitudes from your miraculous self. So beyond your conscious awareness, the replacement will happen. So just take an easy, deep breath. And I'm going to describe this as a visualization. And for any of you that are not at this moment good visualizers, when you pretend you're visualizing something, your unconscious mind will visualize it. So if you see it consciously in holographic detail rivaling an IMAX theater, that's great. If you just pretend that you're seeing it, it works just as well, as long as you don't fuss about it. So imagine a screen out in front of you. And this could be for that one person around pain, a chronic pain, but I'd like everybody to think of some area in your life where you're feeling a little blocked or stuck, or maybe you're not blocked or stuck, but you want to advance in that area and you're not at the moment. So just pick an area. And set your intention that what we're about to do is going to dissolve and release old programming and old limiting beliefs that are getting in the way of what you want to create, how you want your life to be. And I'll just call them blocks. They can be unconscious, energetic, spiritual. And when I call them blocks, that doesn't make them bad or wrong. It just means there's something in you, in your programming, in your energy field that you don't need anymore. It's something from the past that's keeping you from going into your future. So set your intention that we're going to be dissolving the blocks and that your miraculous self will replace them with wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills, and abilities and attitudes from your miraculous self, which is your spirit and inner wisdom, if anybody came late. And we're not trying to get everything at once, just whatever is right. Faster and more is not the same as better in energy work. So just set your intention, your miraculous self will do, we called it Goldilocks principle, whatever's just right for right now. Give your miraculous self permission to turn any of the blocks it wants you to work on, to turn them into little symbols and to put them up on the screen now. And when I do this, I don't try to figure out what the symbols are or anything. I just see them going up. I don't even see them clearly. And most of mine look like little balls of energy or squiggles or lines or clouds, And now, give your miraculous self permission to use the energy of a sacred fire to just burn them up. And when you're burning them up, nothing is destroyed. You're releasing the energy. Programming and beliefs are trapped energy. When they're burned up, they just turn back into pure energy. And it's okay if they don't all burn up right now. Take an easy deep breath or two. And we're going to do this again, and we're going to add something in. Because sometimes you can't release a block because there's another block blocking you from releasing the block. So for instance, maybe you have some kind of block to love or financial abundance, but you can't release it because there's another block that says you're not worthy. So, and I call those blocks to releasing the blocks. So have your miraculous self put on the screen symbols for things that are blocking you. And then have it add on symbols for whatever's blocking you from releasing what's blocking you. Then symbols for anything that's blocking you from releasing what's blocking you from releasing what's blocking you. And at this time, your conscious mind has to just give up and just let the symbols go up on the screen. And then just playfully imagine the sacred fire comes and just burns up all the symbols, releasing the energy, turning it back to pure energy. And we'll do that one more time. So if there's any more symbols for blocks that your miraculous self wants to put on the screen, it can put them up now. And then symbols for anything that blocks you from releasing those blocks. And symbols for anything that would block you from releasing what's blocking you from releasing what's blocking you. And then again, imagine the sacred flame comes, burns up the symbols, turns them into pure energy. Then dissolve the screen and give your miraculous self permission now to replace them with wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills, abilities, and attitudes from your miraculous self. And just imagine now this wonderful things are coming into you, this wisdom and knowledge, etc. And just let it happen outside of your conscious awareness. It's coming from your miraculous self, so you can trust whatever it is exactly what you need. And just imagine it's coming in and it's becoming part of your unconscious mind, part of your conscious mind, part of your whole energy system. And take some easy deep breaths, wiggle your fingers and toes. Good if you pat your body. And I know that after a process like this, people often don't want to ask questions or just kind of in a dreamy state. There's something called fractionation psychologically. And when you go into a deep state, if you come back out of it, when you go back into it, you'll go into it even deeper. So it's fine to come out of it for a while because we'll do some more before we finish. And
Lovely.
we'd love it if you share comments or experiences. And how was that for you, Paul?
It was really good, and this one comes from Joe. Is Paul under? Yes, most definitely. I think that I was getting lots of symbols going up on the screen, and the sacred flame was kind of slightly. It was like a normal fire should be, but had blue tinges in with it as well. And I think, there was just that little tiny point where I was just trying to think, what do these symbols mean? And then I thought, and then it was just at that point you said, I don't know if you noticed anything in my face at that point, but it was at that particular point that you went and said that, it just let your unconscious mind take over and your conscious mind give up at this point. So I was just seeing all these symbols, a lot of school symbols going up on the screen actually. And then at the end of it, a beautiful sort of kind of painting, just kind of like random brush strokes to begin with, and then created like a sort of sunset sea scape thing. So yeah, it was really, really good. I loved it. Thank you. Really appreciate this art. Thank you. Deb said my body is uncontrollably twitching. I take it that's part of releasing the blocks, Art?
Yes, and let me ask Debs, is that still happening? Or
so if you could let us know that, Debs, that'll be absolutely wonderful. And there's people, hopefully, because I think sometimes when people have a process, they just kind of like to sometimes just, oh, here we go. Debs, I had symbols on the screen, they kept slipping down. The fire was from a dragon. So you get people that have sacred fires and have like things like dragons and that as well come up often?
Well, I don't know if often, but it's fun to let your imagination do it in a way that's appealing, and dragons are a great way to do it.
They
And
really are.
I encourage people just if that's the way it shows up, that's great. And different
Perfect.
people will do it differently. And yeah, I was just going to say, I understand, again, people are kind of in this dreamy state, and just realize that we're also dealing with linear time. So if you do have questions or comments, the sooner we see them, the more likely it will work. Deb saying, once back, my limbs ache, but have stopped. Yeah, and let me know if they feel better, but let me just double check. So Debs, you're doing great releasing, and you're hitting a lot of resistance from really old programming, kind of in the not worthy realm of stuff. So with your permission, I'll help you clear some of that. And that kind of programming is really common.
So I don't know. So if you're so I just asked Debs for permission then, Art, or were you just tuning in to her for that?
Yeah, well, yeah, it felt like she gave me permission.
Yeah, I know Debs quite well, so I'm sure she did. So if I read this next one out?
Please, yeah.
Deb said yes, she understood that. That helped me. I felt emotional, and I needed to do this often in a more relaxed state. That's the great thing about these recordings. You can go back into your programs that you have as well, and do more of it.
Yes, and you don't have to be in a relaxed state. It's you might or might not go deeper, and it's more fun. But part of what I like people to know, like, you can do it even in a very chaotic, difficult situation, and that's what's great about it. So the desire to do it in a more relaxed state is wonderful, and just for everybody. This isn't directed at you necessarily, Diana. That thinking that it needs to be or it'll be better is not necessarily true. So I'm all for doing it in a relaxed state, but what I love is people learning you can do it when you're not relaxed, which is even more important.
Lorna said my symbols were dissipating into smoke rather than into flames. Interesting.
You mean you disobeyed me? No, that's again. Yeah, your mind will take over and do it in ways that it likes. And part of you like dissipating into smoke, which is great. In fact, I don't like to explain too many different ways to do it to begin with, but sometimes I'll have people, well, imagine a sacred lake with transformative water, and the symbols go in there. So there isn't a one way to do it. What you're all doing, though, is you're following the steps. You're just being creative around it. Skipping the steps is not a good idea, but letting your mind have fun with it is a great idea.
Absolutely, and as you say, children are just wonderful at doing this. You tell them to fill the room up with gold energy, and they will just do it straight away.
Right.
Cowabunga, thank you for the second round. Feel like my body did not want to let go of painful blocks, like it was fighting itself, but settled down in the second round and felt great release.
Yeah, fantastic. And again, you hit a lot of resistance, which is good. I mean, we want the resistance to come up so we can clear it. And again, the resistance, I don't like terms like self-sabotage, even though they're certainly accurate. But one of the ideas that I love from NLP is that all the programming in you thinks it's helping. you know, it just isn't, but it thinks it is. So the resistance will come up trying to hold us back. So I mentioned, but I didn't explain earlier, there's a lot of resistance will come up to our really connecting to our own spiritual information. And if you think of it, we're brought up mostly in societies that tell us, don't believe what you believe what we tell you, whether it's politically or religiously or in school or so we get a lot of programming like that tells us like, we'll tell you what to think. And then when you imagine parents, as a parent, you don't want your children to see all your flaws. So they're unconsciously projecting like, don't see the truth, see what I'm trying to show you. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. If our parents are really scared and stuff, we don't want to know how scared they are when we're kids. But what we're doing now is we're clearing more and more of that. So it's not like bad or wrong programming. It's just we're all people. Again, you wouldn't be watching Paul's show unless you were somebody who wants to let go of that kind of thing. But not because it's bad or wrong, but because it's not our truth, and we can't manifest who we are, with that in the way.
So yeah, Wendy said, I feel better, amazing. Deb says, oh, I'm having a warm flush go through my body now.
Excellent.
Sam said, I'd love to learn to relax more, but I find it difficult to even meditate. My mind just wanders to negative and bad memories, because a lot has happened to Sam and for Sam in her life. But as you were saying, I think that as you say, the Goldilocks, and you often say that in your training as well, the Goldilocks. So if you want to say a little bit about the Goldilocks, just a little bit more in detail, and a little bit for people that find it difficult, particularly if there's been a lot of trauma.
So let me start with what Sam was saying. So if you're meditating and thoughts keep coming up, that's a perfect time to then do some of these screen loads and put up symbols for whatever is bringing those thoughts up. And the other thing you can do, Sam, is put up symbols for different of the quote unquote negative thoughts and see them outside of you. And then imagine you can talk to them. So let's say a painful traumatic memory keeps coming up. You put a symbol out for it. You imagine the earth grounding it, and you give your miraculous self permission to drain off of it energies that aren't yours or aren't in present time. So energies that aren't yours, whether they're good, bad, or whatever, are draining off, and energies, old emotional energies of yours, but aren't in present time, drain off. You then imagine your miraculous self filling it up with energies that will be helpful, and then you bring it back in, integrate it, and you might need to do that 2 or 3 times. You might need to do that for a few weeks. But what will happen is things will start getting better and better, and less of that will happen. But in the other part of that, if they keep popping up, imagine you can talk to the symbol and go, you have my attention. What is it you want or need? And you may or may not get an answer immediately, but just keep doing it. It might take days. You might get an answer immediately, but it might take days, and things will come up, and then you start working with it. And it's easier to do that with somebody helping you, and you can do it on your own. It just may or may not take longer.
Yeah. Brilliant. And thank you, Mark, and thank you, Sam.
And then can I explain the Goldilocks like you asked?
Yeah. If you explain the Goldilocks, that would be good. Thank you.
But let me just look at Sam for a moment. this is my interpretation of what I'm seeing, Sam. So I'm not saying this is the truth, but the way I would interpret it is part of what brings it back is the very natural, like, why is this why did this happen to me kind of thoughts. So, that depends on your personal spiritual beliefs. But if that resonates with you, just spend some time thinking about that. And if I can tell it's a silly story, but when I was like 4 or 5, we lived on a hill in Virginia and there was a woods at the bottom and somebody caught a turtle and we're kids and we're all playing with the turtle, and you touch them on the nose and their head pulls in and everybody's doing it. It's my turn. I touch him on the nose and he's had it. He closes his shell on my finger and didn't actually hurt me, but it scared me. And luckily one of my friend's fathers was around and he didn't hurt the turtle. He just lightly pulled on it so I could get my finger on. But I remember sitting on the edge of the hill and staring out down the hill and brooding and thinking, why did he do it to me? He didn't do it to anybody else. And that really got wired into me, that silly little thing. I mean, that it hardly qualifies as a trauma, but it really wired in, why did this happen to me? And I get a sense that you, for much more important reasons, that was going on. And working on, however you come to grips to that. And again, that depends on your spiritual and personal beliefs. So you can let me know if that's helpful. Yeah.
Then I get to ask you about the programs that you have and the workshops people can attend. I just wanted to read this from Charles. I had a NDE years ago and blocked it. It helped me just now. Brilliant. Wonderful to hear, Charles. Thank you, Art, for helping everybody out tonight. So you've got some wonderful free programs that people can go to, but if you want to go even deeper, because you do weekend workshops, some in person, others are online, and other workshops are longer. You actually can train in energetic NLP. So anybody watching now wants to go further, can you let people know how they can do that?
Yeah. Well, a great way to start is with the blockbuster7.com is great, and it's 4 videos, and you'll get a lot out of just watching them, and you'll get a real taste of energetic NLP. You'll also be on the mailing list, so you'll hear about. I'll be having a number of free things coming up. I mentioned briefly before there'll be a 5 days, but just like an hour each day for empaths on becoming a playful empath. So that'll be coming up within a few weeks. I'll be announcing that by the end of the week. And I have a lot of free things coming up. Something that's not free, but very low cost is I'm having a 3-day virtual workshop. I used to do it in person, but it'll be online. And it's July, I can't see my calendar from here, but it's something like July 16th, 17th, 18th. It's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And it's very low cost. And it'll be 3 days it's called Discover Your Miraculous Abilities. And it'll be 3 days on personal and spiritual growth, clearing blocks, opening up, developing and working with your miraculous self. But you'll also be either opening or developing your abilities to read people's energy and work with energy. And there'll be people in the program who've been doing energy for 30 years, and there'll be newbies. And because everybody puts their own miraculous self in charge, everybody gets a customized experience out of it. And he says modestly, people tell me it's a really life-changing workshop. It's fun. We go really deep, but in a really fun way. And at the end of it, you'll definitely be able to do energy healings. If you already do them, you will have improved how you can do them. And when I say energy healings, like transformative work, you can do it just with yourself, with other people. You'll have cleared karma, spiritual contracts, unconscious blocks, energetic blocks. We do a lot in the 3 days. And so that's called Discover Your Miraculous Abilities. And again, if you're on the mailing list, you'll hear about that. And then I also have online on-demand programs and a year-long training program, which is a personal spiritual development program, and you learn how to really do energetic NLP.
Fantastic. And yeah, no, so if you put Art Giser and you'll come up with his Energetic NLP website. So I think it's energeticnlp.com. Am I right there?
Yeah. Yeah, if you go to energeticnlp.com and sign up there, and you'll also, if you do sign up there, you get a video that's on increasing your confidence, your power, and your ability to be in action. So you get
amazing.
that.
It is incredible stuff, and I've attended one of Art's workshops, and I've got his DVD and a CD which I like to play regularly as well. So it is really wonderful.
It's not definite yet. I may finally come back to the UK, to London in the fall. So if you're on my list, or also there's, if you go to the Energetic NLP, if you look that up on Facebook, also that's always up to date, that Facebook page.
Brilliant. Thanks, Art. Let's read. Lana, artist Lana, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. I felt I was in a desert with red rock around me. The symbol appeared in the sand. Once I came back, I felt so relaxed.
Oh, I love the synchronicity of that, because you know how Facebook shows memories. I sometimes teach workshops in a place called Sedona, Arizona, which is an incredible energy place with its desert and red rocks. And I'm just looking at those pictures before this. So I love that.
Excellent. That's good. And you do stuff from Bell Rock as well. I've come across some YouTube videos from Bell Rock. They're really good. So they're worth looking at. So those videos are wonderful. I have to watch this, and admits most of it couldn't participate in meditation, because as you always say throughout this, if you are busy driving or operating any sort of machinery, it's best to listen to it when you can properly relax. Both of you are truly incredible. Thank you both for an amazing live. Thank you, Sam. You're incredible too. Diane, I have for some time now needed help. Thank you. Certainly meant to be. I clicked on tonight.
Great.
Another one. Oh, I'm interested in your workshop, Art.
Oh, great, Doug. Love to have you in it.
Soldier missed the beginning of it, but really looking forward to watching back, where I can pause and rewind parts and get the full benefit from it. Thanks, Art. And as you say, because Soldier missed the beginning of it, if you kind of go back in your mind and allow the energies from now to build from that, he will get the same benefit from the energies as Soldier will get the same benefit from the energies as well.
Yeah, for everybody, when you watch this again, you just pretend it's happening, or if you give it to somebody else, just pretend it's happening right now when you watch it, and you'll access all the energies. How that works, I have my own theories, but it works.
It most certainly does. Fabulous interview. Big. I'm going to have to go through your dyslexic program, because it's about grounding yourself, and that's what we're going to finish with. You so we're going to finish. So that will be good. Big Mario, it looks like there, Paul.
No, mahalo. It's Hawaii.
Mahalo. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Sorry, Cowabunga.
If anybody has dyslexia symptoms, a former student of mine, amazing person, Olive Hickmont, has incredible free material that helps you with dyslexia. Yeah,
absolutely. I've got the book Seeing Spells Clearly, so I'll go back and redo it. I think she's actually written another few chapters of it. She's done an extended version of it now, which I'll get.
She has a whole online program now. It's available.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, that'll be brilliant. I'll definitely do the online program. Have you any videos about Sedona?
I do. If you look up Art Giser, which is Giser, or Energetic NLP on YouTube, there's a few on my Facebook site too, but they're probably easier to find on YouTube. But I have some meditations that I lead from Arizona. And in fact, one of my online programs is I call it the Advanced Chakra Spa. And I did it from Sedona. And in it, I'm channeling the energies of Sedona to people. And it works as a recording. So that's something that's available too.
Brilliant. Amazing stuff. So we're rapidly approaching the 90 minutes, and I really appreciate your generosity with time, and also going through these processes with us, and your knowledge art. It'd be nice to sort of finish with the grounding, which I think will be really important for everybody.
Finish with what? I'm sorry.
The grounding. You said you're going to finish grounding us.
Definitely. So two things. First is I'd like to suggest to all of your miraculous selves in your unconscious minds that when you're sleeping tonight and for the next 3 nights, part of the time when you're sleeping, not all night, part of the time, your unconscious mind can review what you did in the session. And when it reviews it, your miraculous self will infuse it with wisdom, knowledge, concepts, skills, abilities, and attitudes from your miraculous self. It'll take what you did and make it deeper, richer, wider. It'll make it higher and more multidimensional. And it will take the benefits and automatically integrate them into your mind, into your emotions, into your body, into your energy field. And this can happen easily, naturally, while you sleep soundly, deeply, wake up feeling refreshed. And that can happen tonight and for the next 3 nights. Let's take a moment and ask your miraculous self to pull your energy back out of Paul's space and my space, because we've kind of been mixing our energies up. If you don't retrieve your energies, you'll be a little depleted, and it's not good for us. So we're going to be pulling our energies out of your space. Just let your miraculous self do it. Have your miraculous self pull your energies out of our space. And then we do grounding a little differently in energetic NLP. Most people teach you to ground into the earth, which is great. I think it's easier the other way around. The earth is more powerful than we are. So give the earth permission to work with your miraculous self and let the earth ground you. So imagine a column of energy comes up from the earth, bringing Mother Nature, Mother Earth energies, even if you're in a city, bringing Mother Nature, Mother Earth energies up near the base of your spine. And then give the earth permission to ground only your authentic energy into your body. So let it ground only your authentic energy into your body. And a fun way to think of that is imagine there's a point of light in your energy body for every cell in your physical body. And when the earth grounds you, every point of light pops in the cell it belongs in, so that your energy body and physical body are fully aligned. Give permission for your miraculous self to use that grounding to bring up nurturing, healing, loving, acknowledging energies of manifestation up from the earth into you, into your chakras, your energy channels, your energy field, into your cells and DNA and organs and systems. And give your miraculous self permission to send down that grounding column any energies in your energy field that aren't yours and aren't helpful. Energies that aren't yours, aren't helpful, or don't belong in present time. So what nurtures you is coming up. What you're ready to release is gently going down. Now, it'll be important to drink water after this session and at least lightly move and stretch. I mean, you can do something vigorous, but at least, even if you just do some pelvic twists and shoulder rolls or whatever is right for your body, because your energy body and your physical body are intertwined. So when you realign your energy field, there's an opportunity for your body to realign in a better way, but it will only do that if you move, or it'll do it better if you move. And that could be, or a warm shower or a bath, or if you can talk somebody into giving you a massage, that's great. And lastly, there's something we call spiritual emails in energetic NLP. When you've done powerful energy work, your energy field is more authentic and it's different than it was. And on an inner level, sometimes people and pets even, they notice something's different and it just kind of throws them off a little bit. So the way around that is doing what we call spiritual emails. Give your miraculous self permission to send out little spiritual emails to everybody in your life, including your pets and your plants. And these spiritual emails are just showing them, hey, this is what my energy looks like now. Bye. You're not looking for acknowledgement or permission. You're just showing them. And that way they're comfortable with it. And that includes the people that your spirit wants you to meet, but you haven't met yet. And then just wiggle your fingers and toes, stomp your feet. It's really good. Taking your right hand and patting the left side of your body is really good. Your right hand patting, your left hand patting the right side of your body. Then right on right, left on left. Move, stretch. And boy, Paul, I want to thank you so much for having me on. I want to thank you for doing these wonderful Facebook Lives and the contribution you're making.
So thank you.
Letting
That's
me
wonderful
be part
to
of it.
hear. And you've got some wonderful love coming your way, and I highly recommend joining. There's wonderful, as we said before, free videos that you can go to, and some free meditations. If you want to see it further, I highly recommend Art's workshop. So I really like to thank you, Art, for your time this evening and going through these processes and tuning in to us as well. It's been definitely a show to remember. I really think that, definitely.
Thank you. And you set a really lovely energy field for the show, which I've really enjoyed being in it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'll just read a couple of things, and then I realised that it's just approaching. Well, it's early afternoon for yourself where yes. You are. So Debs loves the interviews. Awesome night. Thank you both. Yes, from the core. Oh, there's other ones. Really informative content tonight for a beginner like me. Thank you, Paul and Art. Alison, thank you, Art and Paul, for your time. Thank you both. I'm going to watch back. So yeah, I mean, it's brilliant, and the energies will be there as well. Thank you both, Artist Lana. Thank you, Paul and Art. Amazingly. So I'm going to bring it to a close. I've actually, my next guest next week is the wonderful, amazing Artist Lana. So that's who we got next week. So thank you so much, Lana, for joining tonight. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we finish tonight, Art, or this afternoon for you?
Yeah, I just said one of my goals is that everybody recognize that they're an embodiment of a vast, beautiful spiritual being, and that that's your true nature, and that through this kind of work, more and more you can manifest that in your life. And I'm just, the kind of people that will spend their time doing something like this, I think, you're really changing the whole collective consciousness, the whole energy field of humanity. So thank you for letting us be part of it.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Diane, for your comments. Just going to end this now. You want to just spend just 2 minutes. I know you've got the rest of your day to get on with, but just for me to thank you personally after this live.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, or if you're watching anywhere else, have a wonderful day. Thank you.